Hello, my friends. It is I, Pixilicious, beat your ass. And today, let's talk about Inuyasha and how a basic shonen got put into a shoujo category, and in all honesty, how nobody batted an eye at it. So, needless to say, we are going to go and talk and delve in a little bit further into what this anime was about, and we will be going a little bit longer than what I have in the past, which I'm kind of excited about. So, we've got actually a whole lot of topics to discuss today. Like, for instance, I am not gonna lie, it is still one of those things where I will sit here and scream to the heavens. It's technically a shonen. The only thing that makes it a shoujo is A, it has a female protagonist, and B, it's an isekai. It is totally an isekai, but Sword Art Online is too. And people love that as a technical shonen. Meh. So let's talk about Inuyasha. It's a wonderful anime and manga series that actually lasted for a good amount of time. And somehow, someway, still despite all odds, even as a shonen, gets put into a shoujo category. Just because it basically has a female protagonist. You can argue, though, that the protagonist was also Inuyasha himself, and so here we are. We're gonna go and talk about things like, for instance, the fact again that it's technically a shonen. Not gonna lie, everything about it screams shonen. It has fights, it has nothing but fights, it has a moody protagonist dog character who wants to become the greatest demon with like ultimate powers and everything like that. And another protagonist who just happened to look like his ex. And how it takes over 7 to 8 seasons for him to get over it. Not kidding. So, nonetheless, that's again another thing that probably makes it more of a shoujo than it does a shonen. But I don't know. Constant talking about fighting techniques and swords and about, how Inuyasha's the one who's so tortured. But here we are. I don't know if anybody really knows this, but Viz has out Shonen Jump app to where you can read a lot of the newer series that come out on Shonen Jump. Like, for instance, I've read all of Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer because of this app. And it's completely great for like $2.99 a month. It's cheap, in my opinion. It has all of the Inuyasha series. It has Ranma. It has several other series by the same mangaka. And Inuyasha being one of the ones that has all of the chapters for free. I remember when I used to read it back in middle school. God, it was in middle school. Because back in the day, the actual anime came out about around 2 or 3 o'clock at night, and then it got moved to about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning around that area. Thank you, Adult Swim. And they really didn't show but maybe 2 to 3 seasons of it. So I was very well versed in the first 3 seasons, plus 3 movies, and I know there's a 4th movie, but 3 movies, and this anime had gripped me to where I had collected at least 16 volumes before having to stop. I got in trouble back in middle school while reading it because even though it is rated T for teens, and it wasn't even sexual, but nudity scenes, like where they were taking baths. And I would get in trouble for that, and I'm sitting here going, it's art, Jesus Christ. I never really once really thought of it pretty much as a shoujo, because I felt like this was an anime that really guys could get into. Girls could just, watch and be like, oh my god, the romance story. And again, this is way back when. I now realize that, girls can like all those things too and everything like that. I wasn't the only one. Oh my god, go figure. It was a very compelling story at the time. Now, granted, again, the amount of anime wasn't available in a huge variety or even a streaming service. But yeah, let's actually really talk about that and how somehow this was a very neutral anime for a very action-filled anime. That this could have been placed in Shoujo Beat or Shonen Jump, and I don't think anybody would have batted an eye. But the reason why this is more of a characteristic of a shoujo is because it does go and it really does focus on your personal connections and things like that, which are more for a shoujo-based audience. The shonen points of it were, of course, the action-filled part where, Inuyasha's kicking some ass. And the thing is like, for instance, I was kind of a little bit wounded that I go and I look in the Shonen Jump app, that Inuyasha's not there. Viz finally came out with their own shonen-based app, which is really just the Viz Media map. Is that it's there. All the chapters are there. So, therefore, having Inuyasha as a shonen just kind of... a shonen that's in the shoujo-based category just seemed a little bit out there. The only reasons why I can think of is because, yes, the main protagonist is technically Kagome, and also it's an isekai. That's another reason why I would see that it would be that way. Yes, there are some shonens that are totally isekai-based and action-packed and everything like that, but this one was one of its first ones, which, again, it's up there with Ranma, where I would actually have to sit here going, it's really a shonen, but because it has more feels in it, it's a shoujo. But I wish there was a middle ground for manga and anime to where, stuff like this, I'm sitting here going, is this really a shoujo? Because, God, that is one toxic relationship. So the thing about the 90s as well is that, in all honesty, demon tropes were everywhere. It was like a thing. Even if you had something like Sailor Moon, there was a lot of demonic presence in it and everything, and which made it glorious. Inuyasha was a little bit more in your face about it because it was one of the few that already started with them being half demon, instead of the all of a sudden coming out like in the 4th season they have a demon presence in them or something along those lines, and they weren't truly just fully human working on their own grit. Inuyasha had already started out half demon, so he's shunned by real humans and shunned by demons all alike. For the actual socioeconomic process in real life of what that really looks like, I can feel a lot of people can actually connect to that. And that's why I have seen so many people of just different backgrounds and everything like this anime and talk about it with just great love to it. I feel like this was one of the most iconic because, again, it's more in your face, and with that whole struggle to become a better person, whether that be a demon or whether that be a human, and that you have to find a good middle ground to be able to cohabitate and actually live life to its fullest. Again, which really does bear some real life lessons there. Some of it's not shown as properly because, again, Inuyasha is a toxic piece of work. Okay, Kagome's not that much better, not gonna lie. But Inuyasha really does go out of his way to go, I love you, Kagome, basically. But the moment Kikyo comes up, boom. It's just, over. Like, oh god, I gotta protect her. And it's like, why? Hold on. Why, bro? Why? She's a powerful sorceress, basically, who came back from the dead because of a haggard old witch who thought she could control her. Yeah, that didn't work. Inuyasha has a serious plot line on that during seasons 2 and 3, where that demon portion of him really is trying to consume him. Anytime he feels that rage, that bloodlust, everything like that, he starts really giving into it. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a really good, compelling arc, and it's one reason why he has to have Tetsaiga. With Tetsaiga and Tensaiga, they are two parts of one whole. They both really heavily rely on each other. It was a whole thing where Shishomaru was supposed to be a good older brother for Inuyasha. Little did Daddy Dearest know that Shishomaru hated Inuyasha's guts. Like, hated him. I'm not kidding. There's so many TikToks and things about this, but he literally would just come in just to watch Inuyasha failing. And it's like, are you gonna just sit there? Yeah. And now that you're winning, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave now. That's gonna be a thing. But when Shishomaru finds out that Inuyasha could be taken over by this blood rage, he wants to get Tetsaiga fixed. He wants to make sure that, his brother maintains being in the right mind. And a lot of people can argue that this is because, he has some kind of feelings for him. You could totally argue that. Totally. I'm gonna go with he wanted to fight his brother honorably and not have him turn into basically no better than a lower level demon. The Tetsaiga has those powers that basically when he uses it, it helps maintain his human half, because it can't be used to kill humans. It cannot be done. And it's supposed to be there to help Inuyasha. It is a long anime. It's not as long as One Piece. It's not as long as a lot of other animes out there now. But before One Piece had even hit its 100 episode mark, it was one of the more longer running animes because she was still writing it. It didn't take too long for her to really write it, but it did take a while for it to actually come to the States and get finished, and also Adult Swim to actually air most of them. Adult Swim for the longest, and I do mean this by longest time, would go and just air the first 3 seasons. The early 2000s did not have a lot of best resources to go finding animes out there and everything like that. YouTube actually used to be able to show you animes that you haven't seen in a while. That is how I actually got to watch Hellsing, Hellgirl, a lot of other animes that I wouldn't have even dreamed to have watched, because Funimation, Crunchyroll, and other things had not even been invented yet. That didn't reach until I had reached later in high school, college years. And so, Inuyasha only playing the first 3 seasons, I was very well versed in it. I was kind of getting irritated over the fact that they had not beaten Naraku yet. I read the manga because when I can see that I'm not going to get the anime that I want nor deserve, I will go and I will see about reading the manga, because I am impatient and I need to know the ending. That's why I will not do Demon Slayer until it is finished when it comes to these reviews. The major thing about Inuyasha is there are 2 major plot lines. Do not be fooled, it's an 8-season anime with 2 major plot lines are, well, they won't they, with Inuyasha and Kagome, because Kikyo is constantly around, who is Inuyasha's ex, who shot and killed him because Nuraku basically fooled her into thinking that he killed like a bunch of villagers for the Shikan Jewel after they had promised to run away together and live together forever, and had basically assaulted her. And so she was angry, thinking it was Inuyasha, and shot him and bound him to a tree for like 100 years. Really, it was like 50, but so the person who tricked Kikyo into thinking that they were Inuyasha was Naraku, which in Japanese means hell. That actually is very well fitting, and I'll get to that in a moment. But basically, Naraku is this being that is a spider hanyo, which is basically a demon and a human combined. And in Naraku's case, it was a human, which Oniguma was, and he was very wounded, and Kikyo went and saved him, was nursing him back to life. He couldn't see her ever falling in love with him, and when he found out that she was actually more in love with Inuyasha, he decided to bring upon all these demons into himself to become Naraku. And like I've said again, he is basically Satan in this. It's this TV show's devil, where he can mold people's minds to doing his bidding. He can trick them into doing whatever. He can look like a regular human, trick other people. It's a whole thing. And he was doing this before Muzan was in frickin' Demon Slayer. It was one of those kind of villains. He, in all honesty, could have been defeated by season 4. Again, those fighting scenes and everything, they're all really great. And, like, the fact that Inuyasha has to go and constantly help people helps build his human side. And that is the minor plot line of the whole thing, is keeping Inuyasha and his humanity. It's again that will they won't they with Kagome is the major thing, because that's where we get down to how he meets Kagome. Again, he is pinned to a tree by Kikyo due to Naraku manipulating the whole situation. Kagome goes, and at the beginning she's a normal high school student. She's gonna go to school, everything like that. And her brother hears this weird sound from the busted well that's in one of the shrines. And she goes to check it out, and the centipede lady comes out of it to come and get the Shikan Jewel that is inside her, that she had no clue was inside her. Because, you know, she's the main character, so of course she has this special thing about her. And she gets sent all the way back into the past. But she gets transported to the Sengoku period. Again, it's another trope that came into the 90s. The isekais were more of going into the past than it was into, like, a different world. Ooh. Kagome goes into the past, and the centipede lady is nowhere to be found. And she sees this very handsome, strapping young lad with dog ears, thinking they're fake. She feels them, and the villagers come in thinking that she's a demon, who looks an awful lot like their old priestess, Kikyo. And Kikyo has been dead for 50 years because Inuyasha killed her, obviously. Duh. And that again, that didn't happen. Pretty much, Centipede comes in and he's like, look, if you want to go and save yourself, you might want to unbind me from this tree. And they're like, what the fuck can I do? Take the goddamn arrow out of my shoulder. Oh, okay, totally. And she does. And then boom. And then there he is, a dog without his leash. He goes and he actually saves the whole thing. Everything goes fine. he goes to try to pretty much attack her. He wants the Shikan Jewel. It's one of those things where he is perceivably a bad guy at first. Lady Kaede goes and throws these beads like around his neck and goes, "Hey, just use command word. Any command word. You know, that would subdue him." Well, he's a dog demon. "Sit, boy!" That is basically the trope throughout the entire thing. If Kagome's mad, boom, sit. Be a good dog. I love it. Just, it's really the first 2 episodes that really get you into the whole plot line of what's gonna go and happen. By episode 2, we get to a point where this evil crow demon goes and steals the light jewel from them and goes and swallows it as she is going to go and shoot, because Kagome should have some of the same powers as Kikyo. She goes to shoot an arrow towards the crow. Lo and behold, it shoots the Shikan Jewel and scatters the pieces everywhere. That is the case of what starts off the whole anime. I love it. It's great. And it doesn't take too long to set up how long it has to take to go. Then, you have 6 to 7 seasons after season 1. Basically just going, we're going to collect all the shards of this Shikan Jewel. And the funnier part about it, again, by about season 2 or 3, Naraku has basically a huge hunk of it. So the rest of the seasons after are just there. Rumiko Takahashi likes doing fillers. Ranma had the same problem. And that's okay. Again, we don't hate on Ranma. Inuyasha itself, it was something that was a neutral-based anime. It could be both a shonen and a shoujo. It was great. It's just one of those glorious, wonderful animes to watch if you're wanting to get a sense of how far that we've definitely come anime-wise. So I want to go and also talk about another thing. Inuyasha doesn't deserve Kagome. Never did, never will. I don't care what anybody says. It shouldn't take that long for you to realize you got something good, even if she was annoying. Okay, she cared for you. She kept coming back for you. Shut the fuck up. You were a toxic piece of crap, Inuyasha. That is all there is to it. Was toxic. You were always in your own me business. Now keep in mind again, Kagome did the same thing. But that's why they were good for each other in the end. It's one of those things, they grew together. It was fine. Whatever. It's not like, Koga was there ready to love her for all the strength and woman that she was. So see, there is this other character that's in there. A lot of characters end up falling for Kagome. Koga being definitely one of them. One of the people that they meet along the way, Moroku, he's a sleazebag. He started hitting on her. We have Shippo in there, who also again adores her, sees her for kind of what she is. She's a treasure to be had, and that they need her there. And also keep in mind, again, this had 90s-esque voices where it really did have high-pitched, whiny voices for the female cast characters. They did have 2 basic-sounding women, in my opinion. And it's annoying high school teenager sound. Like, Inuyasha! That kind of sound. Or where they're just talking like this. And it's kind of feminine. But at the same time, you can tell that they have a cool and calm demeanor. I'm actually very, very happy that we've grown from it. But Inuyasha did not deserve Kagome. Still won't. And in my eyes, I believe that her and Koga should have been together forever. It would have been great. He's a good boy. You want to talk about a good boy? Koga's a good boy. I'm gonna go and say that right now. I am totally Kagame shipper, but I can't remember what they're actually called. I have the fanfics that I have read to prove it. You can totally tell me in the comments who you would ship. I do believe that Moroku and Sango needed to be together. That was always gonna... It's gonna be like, when will this happen? Instead of a will they, won't they. I know the fandom loved Shishomaru because cool, calm, collected bad guy and white hair, and he was pretty and makeup. With that will they, won't they, I really wanted it to be a won't they, and she fell in love with Koga. I knew that wasn't going to happen just based on how the plot line was going and everything like that. I knew it. I knew. Let's talk about the 4 movies. Basically, in the 90s especially, anime, especially if it was going well and you saw multiple seasons coming from it, it would throw in movies that really didn't do much for it in the plot. Yes, animes like One Piece can do that and it totally be okay because all of it ties to the plot. But like things like Sailor Moon and other animes had movies that really didn't further the plot. It was just there. And then we have movies like with Mugen Train and Demon Slayer that do, and then they get to make more money by making it into a season. Let's talk about those 4 movies. You know, like Affections, Touching Across Time, The Castle Beyond the Looking Glass, Swords of an Honorable Ruler, and Fire on the Mystic Mountain. Affections Touching Through Time is one of those movies that Kagome is yet again in the human world. And this time it's kind of like an enforceable nature instead of her just going. She does this very periodically because she can. That is the point. She just can't. If she wants to, she can leave their lives in danger and it doesn't really matter because she has her own life to live. If you think I have some hate towards Kagome only slightly, that's because she didn't pick Koga. Just saying. But it's a really cute one. It has this bad guy who's a moth. And I like me some moths. Not gonna lie. Moth guy is gonna encase everything in his own little cocoon to feed off the energy and grow stronger, and of course they have to stop that because, you know, Shikan Jules. Then we have The Castle Beyond the Looking Glass, which basically is Naraku and his minions, the, like, one of the wind, who I keep forgetting her name, but basically them and getting out Inuyasha's demon rage and Kagome's kiss solving that problem. Swords of an Honorable Ruler is a Shishomaru and Inuyasha thing where they have to put aside their differences to stop the destructive power of an evil sword that, you know, gets in the hands of many different types of things, and compatriotism through brother bonding, but not really because, again, they hate each other. And then Fires on the Mystic Mountain, I, again, haven't really seen too much of. I've seen little bits and pieces. Warrior, you know, battling 4 brutal, like, adversaries, I guess you would call them, to basically help this whole race of half-demons. Again, has nothing to do with the plot. Just saying. The movies are great, they're treasures, they're works of art. But if you're gonna want to watch them to further the movie, that I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. In the end, this anime is still a good anime. It's still one of my top tier animes, not just for nostalgia reasons, but for the fact that it was well done. Yeah, there are fillers, I'm not gonna lie, and I can actually find bad points in this anime. That is still what marks a good anime, is when you can actually go and state what is bad about it and what is good about it. And with this one, I have to say, voice acting, of course, was spot on, but again, they were working with a small amount of cast to actually do voice acting for anime during this time. It's why it took so long for all the seasons to come out. It took so long for even the sequel for it to come out because, Rumiko figured out what her real cash cow was. It wasn't Renee. I will go and say Rumiko had a few hits. Ranma 1/2, which we will get into at some point, I promise. I will always urge somebody to watch this, even newbies watching anime, younger generations getting into anime, and wondering what old ones to watch. I would go and totally say this one. We can talk about how we somehow glorified a toxic relationship, and how, this is basically what we had. It was something that was there at night, like, pretty much like a nightlight, As a kid, it was something I fell asleep watching something on Adult Swim. I fell asleep to one of the earlier shows that went on and woke up to Inuyasha either playing right in the middle or playing right at the ending theme song. I loved the manga. The manga, again, is so thoughtfully done, and it's gripping. And so I will always go and urge people to read the manga before ever watching the anime. I know watching the anime is easier a lot of the time, but read the manga. It's nice. It's easier to just, sit down, take 30 minutes to an hour out of your day and read and reread the manga that you have. I actually can say it's a neutral anime. It's for both guys and gals alike, thetes and gentlethems, which have you. And you can fall in love with somebody individually in this anime. There's so many people that pop by that you can gain a crush on anybody. If you're bored and you want to go and watch an anime that still has fighting but also has a gripping storyline and definitely delves into a lot of the Japanese mythology of the time period it's set in, watch Inuyasha. And I can actually tell you, I'm pretty damn certain it was a decade, but for years that one station only showed 3 seasons, just 3 seasons, and they skipped episodes constantly, but yet it prevailed and finally finished. That is the biggest thing that we can take away from this anime. In all honesty, we give it about a good, A, B+. It's right there. It's a good anime to watch. I will have an opinion about it because it is an anime to talk about. It doesn't really get too controversial. It's an inclusive anime as well. I just, in all honesty, will recommend it to anybody. I do hope that everybody has a pleasant day and a swell tomorrow. Doodles!